And good morning. Today does mark 72 years since the attack on Pearl Harbor, launching the United States into World War II. And we are delighted to have a very special guest here with us this morning, Evelyn Monahan. Welcome. You were living at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941.
Yes.
Amazing. Incredible. You turned 94 this month. You look great. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
You had lived at Pearl Harbor for 2.5 years leading up to that day. What was your daily routine like? What was life like there?
We got up around 8 o'clock and we were preparing to go to Mass at Waupahu. And then all of a sudden there was this explosion and noise and all kinds of firing going on. And we couldn't figure out what was happening. And then my neighbor and friend, Kitty Morgan, she comes to the door and yanking, "Oh, we're being attacked by the Japanese." Well, our curiosity got the best of us, and Frank and I, we went out in front of the yard. Sure enough, this plane was hovering past our house. He was banking to go back to the harbor. We could see him so clearly. He wasn't high. He wasn't flying too high. And then the gunner, he was discharging his ammunition. And I can't understand why we didn't get hit, because the bullets were coming, and I was an easy target. I was 8 months pregnant, so they couldn't have missed me very much, you know. But anyway, we retreated back to the house very quickly. We weren't out more than a minute or two. And he said, "I have to get back to the base." You know, he said, "I have to go to duty." But then that meant he was going down to the dock and going on a lunch, and they were under fire all the time down there, you know. They were still bombing our ships and things. And anyway, he left. And then I said, "I don't want to be alone here." So I made it one more time. I ventured out, went around my carport. I heard this plane coming again, and I ducked underneath this huge tea plant by my landlord's house. And then after that noise left, I got up and I made it to Churchies. I stayed there all day. And then we listened to the radio to see what was happening, you know, and I knew then that our planes were badly damaged. And I know Frank had his work cut out for him because he was an aviation metalsmith, and I knew I wouldn't be seeing him too often. But anyway, I stayed at Churchies, and we made the best of it. But 3 sailors came to our door. They had jumped off a ship or done something, and they were injured. And her being a nurse, she said, "Oh, I don't have any supplies." So I went to a little store, and I told them our situation, and they gave me a bag full of you know, first aid things. And Churchy, she fixed them up. They were cut and bruised and things. I don't know how, but just what happened. But she sent them on their way. But that was the only occasion with that. But that night, we were supposed to be off of the Pearl City, and we decided, no, that wasn't an option for us. So we stayed in Miss Church's basement that night. Another couple found us later because one of our planes came in late under the wrong signal or something, and they shot it down. And it landed in this little housing thing they called some sort of a palm lodge somewhere, and they just got out with bury their lives. Well, this one couple found us. They came in, they spent the rest of the night with us in the basement. So the next day, we thought, well, what are we going to do now? So anyway, we waited till the men came home. They brought back black paper so we could cover our windows and stay there, you know, but it was in the dark. We were operating in the dark at night. We couldn't see. But anyhow, after a couple of days, things kind of quieted down. Then they issued us gas masks. We had to get booster shots. And then everything kind of went back to normal. We got so we could go to movies and, you know, and do shopping and that sort of thing. And then I was just waiting the birth of my baby. So in January the 2nd, I went in labor, and the next day, January 3rd at blackout time, he made his appearance, and that was Stephen Francis Monahan. And I spent 10 days there, and then got back to my home. And then I was notified that in 3 months I would be evacuated to Columbus, Ohio. And so that day came on Easter Sunday, April 5th, 1942.
And you were supposed to have been evacuated from day one there, but you didn't want to go. You're 8 months pregnant,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
living in the same house where you had lived for 2.5 years and
Yes.
staying there.
Well, I could have opted to stay there, but Frank said my future is uncertain here. I don't know where I'll be stationed. And he said, I think you'll be safer going home to Columbus.
Okay.
And so I agreed with him. And so that's what I did. We packed up. I was notified at 1 o'clock in the morning. They called my neighbor, the Morgans. Instead of waiting until morning, she comes over and wakes me up and tells me that I'm have to go aboard the ship on April 5th. So all the rest of that night, I was packing. You know, in my mind, I was packing clothes and I was doing things. You know, so that night was ruined. So anyway.
After the attack came, your husband left to go to work. He was a metalsmith.
Yes.
When everything needed work.
Yes.
You know, the planes were shot down and the planes were shot on the ground. How many days was it until you saw him again?
It was about two before he got home.
That had to be kind of unsettling.
But he had to go by launch, you know, over to the base, and that's where all the action was. You know, they're shooting the ships and everything, and I wasn't certain that he made it. I didn't hear from him for a couple of days, and then I guess we were notified by somebody. I don't know, that they had made it and it was okay, but we were in the dark since then, you know. But anyway, things got back to normal eventually, and everything was okay.
Normal would never be the same after.
No, but they expected them to come back, but they didn't, and that would have been a disaster. And I know sitting in that basement that night, reality kind of set in with me too. I just got to thinking, my God, what a tragic day it could have been by us going out in the front yard there and exposing ourselves to those bullets.
Well, you found bullets in your
Yes,
yard.
I brought back 3 bullets. They were about 3 inches long. I had them for years, but now all of a sudden they've disappeared. I don't know what's happened to them. But anyway, it's...
What was different? Was December 7th of that year different than any other day? Did it start out any differently?
No. That was just our regular routine. We'd get up and go to church, and then maybe have a leisurely day at home, or maybe we'd go to a movie in the afternoon, or go into Honolulu maybe to shop or something, you know. And it was just normal days.
What do you tell your son? You were 8 months pregnant when the attack happened. How did he grow up with this kind of history?
Oh, he takes it in his stride. He doesn't think anything special about it, I don't think. But he'll be 72 here in January 3rd. Just imagine.
That is incredible.
Yeah, that little baby, he's going to be 72.
And Columbus was your only family at the time, so you took refuge and came back here. And now, still in this area, you go out to schools and talk to children and share your story.
I did. When Kenzie was in the 8th grade at Norton, they were teaching study in Pearl Harbor, and she told the teacher that I had been there, and that sparked an interest in him. So then he said, would she be able to come and show us, tell us about it, you know. And so she incorporated me into that. And I took a menu that I had from the Fisherman's Wharf to show them how cheap the prices were, you know, for food. And they were just taken aback with that, you know.
Sure.
And they was interested in it, so that was nice.
Well, I'd be amazed if anybody wasn't interested in the amazing history that you have. I look back, I mean, I look at this Columbus Evening Dispatch article here from 1942, and it has a picture on the front of it. I mean, that's incredible.
Well, my godmother did this.
Okay.
She called the dispatch, and she thought that was an interesting story, so they came out, and it was sometime in April, I think. Well, maybe the date is here. I'm not. Yeah, April 23rd.
Yes. Incredible.
So I made the history again.
Yes, again. We thank you for sharing your history with us this morning.
I appreciate you having me.
This is fantastic.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Mrs. Monahan. It's
You're welcome.
great to meet you and great to visit on the day that will live in infamy.
Yes.